Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to my review of tonight's edition of Monday Night Raw. And tonight's Raw was held from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I thought tonight's Raw, though it was an okay show, it had its highs and lows. But like I said, to me it was just an okay show tonight. Not a great show by any means. Not perfect. But the show opens up with Kurt Angle coming out, saying last week he went too far with Triple H, punching him in the face. And he says, he's not going to stand here and pretend everything is okay. And so he ends up calling out Triple H for him to face Kurt like a man. And Stephanie ends up coming out. Says, Triple H is not here yet. And she says to Kurt that he almost ruined the biggest contract signing at Elimination Chamber. The Ronda Rousey contract signing that took place at the Elimination Chamber. Then Ronda Rousey ends up coming out. Which, by the way, Ronda is going to appear on every Raw until WrestleMania. So that's gonna be pretty good. Just setting up hype for the match, which of course is gonna be Triple H and Stephanie versus Kurt and Ronda. And so Ronda ends up coming out, says to Stephanie, what Stephanie did to Kurt last week was enlightened. And Stephanie says to Ronda, who is she going to face at WrestleMania? And, there's like a little drum roll. And then Ronda says, that she wants to fight Stephanie at WrestleMania. And then we had Triple H come out, says to Kurt, to do his job. And, he says, oh, Stephanie can't, be in a match because, she is only an executive of the company. And Kurt ends up saying to Triple H, what was funny was, oh, I thought you weren't here tonight. And then Kurt says, not only does Stephanie have one contract, she also has a second contract as a WWE superstar. And the same thing goes for Triple H. Triple H is the COO of the company, of WWE. He also has a second contract being a WWE superstar. But, he only fights when, it's one of the big four pay-per-views, mainly WrestleMania. But, Kurt says at WrestleMania it's going to be him and Ronda versus Triple H and Stephanie, which we all knew, very predictable. We all knew this match was going to take place. So, Ronda wants to break, Stephanie's arm. But, Triple H is like, oh, we can't have this, we better get out of the, you better get out of the ring, like that. And then, Triple H tries to knock out Kurt again, but Kurt ends up seeing it. Kurt starts striking at Triple H. Kurt Angle, tries to get Triple H in the ankle lock, but Triple H ends up getting out of the ring. Stephanie ends up coming from behind, attacking Ronda. Ronda ends up getting back up. She ends up, scaring Stephanie. Stephanie, gets out of the ring, runs off. Triple H gets back in the ring. He ends up going for the pedigree on Kurt, but Kurt ends up reversing it. And he locks in the ankle lock on Triple H. And so, Stephanie's trying to pull Triple H out of the ring. The refs are down there, trying to aid them, trying to help them. Then we see Ronda then take Stephanie by the hair, and Ronda ends up laying Stephanie out. Kind of look like a Samoan drop. Kind of looked like Ronda gave Stephanie a Samoan drop. And that pretty much ended the segment. It just ended with Kurt Angle and Ronda in there. So, but like I say, it was a good opening segment to Raw. Really like how they're building hype for this match. So really enjoyed this opening segment. And then we had once again Asuka versus Nia Jax. This was the first match for tonight, and the match was decent. It was back and forth between Asuka and Nia. Nia being trying to take out Asuka, being dominant in this match. But you had Asuka. There was at one point where Nia thought she, would defeat Asuka, but Asuka got her foot on the rope, and then it was just typical Asuka where she ends up locking in Nia with the Asuka lock. Nia was trying to break out of it, but kept on failing, and Asuka still had the Asuka lock, on Nia, and sadly, Asuka ended up winning the match. Nia ended up tapping out. So, but also during this match, you had Alexa Bliss being interviewed. So of course, Alexa was with Mickie James. So, but the match itself, it was decent. And Asuka's undefeated streak keeps on going. And the next match, it was Cesaro and Sheamus, The Bar versus The Revival, Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson. And if The Revival won the match, they would get, a chance to face Cesaro and Sheamus at WrestleMania for the Raw Tag Team titles. And this match, it was another decent match. It was back and forth between them. Really would like to see the Revival get a chance, for a title shot, because I think they are future tag team champions, and one of my favorite tag teams. And I think they deserve to be more. They deserve to be on Raw a lot more. Because it feels like they're just burying them. But also the highlights in this match, you had Scott Dawson suplex Cesaro from the top, and then he had Dash Wilder do a leap onto Cesaro, which thought was going to be a win for the Revival, but no, Cesaro ended up kicking out of that. And the end of the match, Sheamus ended up bro kicking Dash Wilder, and Cesaro ended up hitting the neutralizer on Scott Dawson to score the win. So Cesaro and Sheamus win the match, and the Revival loses their chances on getting a shot for the tag team titles at WrestleMania, which sucks. So I would like to see the Revival as as tag team champions in the future. I think they deserve much better than what they are given. So, but the match itself, it was decent. Then we had John Cena come out, to talk to the crowd about, what happened Tuesday night on SmackDown, where he beat AJ Styles, and it's going to be a 6-pack challenge match for the WWE title at Fastlane this Sunday. And he's still fighting his road to WrestleMania. And he says if he wins the WWE title Sunday at Fastlane, he will win the WWE title for the 17th time. and that if he wins, he will get his road to WrestleMania. And he says, he earned his opportunity when he beat Styles last week on SmackDown. He says if he wins the match, it'll be a triple threat match at WrestleMania for the title. It will be Nakamura versus him versus Styles. And so Goldust ends up coming out. He says that he wants to stop Cena from going to WrestleMania. And he says he's taking control as Cena's new director for this, this motion picture. Goldust with the whole, cinematic stuff, which we all like about Goldust. And he says that tonight Cena's dreams will be shattered. Then after he says that, he ends up hitting Cena. Cena, ends up getting knocked down. Goes to commercial. Raw goes to commercial. Comes back, and we have a match: John Cena versus Goldust, which is pretty much a meh match. Nothing really happened in this match. It was just Cena. It was just Goldust jobbing to Cena. Cena ends up getting the win with the AA to Goldust to score the win. First he hits the before he did that, he hit the 5-knuckle shuffle. 5-knuckle shuffle connected. And then the AA pinned Goldust. Match ended. So pretty much a nothing match. Just Goldust jobbing to Cena. And then we had Kurt Angle was with Elias. Elias ends up coming in. Elias says he doesn't want to hit anyone with an instrument because he's facing Strowman in a Symphony of Destruction match, as what they called it. Kurt ends up telling Elias that he's not canceling the match, and the match now is going to be Falls Count Anywhere. It's still going to be a Symphony of Destruction match, but with Falls Count Anywhere rules. So it's just that little backstage segment with Kurt and Elias. And then we had Bayley end up coming out. Bayley was being interviewed. Bayley says, what Sasha did was hard for her. And then she tries to say something else, but ends up getting interrupted by Absolution. Paige gets on the mic and says, Bayley finally grew a backbone. And she ends up calling Bayley a stupid little kid, and that she has nothing and, no one. And pretty much that was basically that. And then we had the match, Bayley versus Mandy Rose, which was meh. It was okay. It was not great or perfect by any means, though. But Mandy Rose, I have to say Mandy Rose is pretty, but the match, her in the match, it was Mandy Rose always in match. It's looks very she looks very sloppy in the ring. Bayley was being dominant through this match. There was one point where Sonya Deville tried to get involved, but Bayley ended up taking her out. Bayley ended up winning the match with a roll up on Mandy Rose. Then you had, after the match, Absolution then beat it down on Bayley, Sonya Deville, and Mandy Rose. Beat it down on Bayley. Sasha ends up coming out, and she ends up, taking out Absolution, Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. Paige didn't, get involved, of course. So she cleared the ring of Absolution, Sasha. Then Sasha tries to get Bayley to hug her, but Bayley, didn't accept it. Bayley ended up exiting the ring. So this is kind of what are they going to do? Are they going to do a Sasha heel turn, which has been rumored for a while now, or are they going to turn Bayley heel? If they turn Bayley heel, it's going to be awful, in my opinion. I don't buy Bayley being a heel. I think she wouldn't be that good of a heel, in my opinion. So to me, just WWE. They should do Sasha. They should turn Sasha heel instead of Bayley. If they're gonna go that route. If they're gonna go that route. But yeah, I can't picture Bayley being heel. If she does, that's gonna be fucking awful. She's not gonna be a good heel in my opinion. Then we had Nia Jax backstage. Alexa and Mickey come. Alexa says, to Mickey that she got this. Mickey ends up, walking away. And, Alexa, has a heart-to-heart with Nia. She says to Nia that, she lost that Elimination Chamber. Nia is not going to WrestleMania. She says she lost tonight. Alexa also tells Nia that, she doesn't want Nia to feel like a failure and that she shouldn't be ashamed of herself. And then we see just Nia breaking down, crying. You feel bad for Nia. Actually really did feel bad for Nia. Because Nia, in my opinion, she deserves to be Raw Women's Champion. I think she would be a decent champion, a decent women's champion. I would like to see that happen at some point. So, but it was a pretty good backstage segment with Nia and Alexa. You could tell, Alexa cares for Nia. They're best friends, which. It's pretty cool that both of them hang out with each other. It's actually I actually like that because we see it all over their Instagram stories. So then we had Elias out there. He was playing the piano, which I'll admit he plays pretty good on the piano, in my opinion. Still not going to get me to be a fan of him. So, and he ended up playing the drums. He got his guitar. He was singing about Strowman. Then Elias ends up running out of the building. Elias ends up getting in the car. Wanting to drive away from the arena to escape Strowman. And we see, Elias trying to get out of there, but the car is not going. And we find out that Strowman is lifting the car, so Elias wouldn't go anywhere. And Strowman ends up chasing after Elias. They both go back into the arena, and that's pretty much starts the match. Braun Strowman versus Elias, Symphony of Destruction match, falls count anywhere rules. And it was just going around. There was at one point where Strowman wanted to put Elias through the announce table, but Elias ended up reversing it. And we saw the thing that what happened. I think it was 3 weeks ago, where Strowman took the cello and hit Elias with it. That actually happened again tonight. Strowman actually took the cello and hit Elias with it the same way. And, we saw what was funny was Strowman was, playing the piano. It was like it was like a small piano, but, I think it was the same piano that Elias was playing. But it was a small piano. Actually ended up, breaking the piano, and the piano fell on Elias. Strowman ended up pinning Elias to score the win. And so Strowman wins the match. He crushed Elias with the piano. Yeah, we saw, Elias being taken out on a, I think it was on a gurney. So, but the match itself, it was, okay. wasn't, wasn't great though. Then we had Bray Wyatt versus Rhyno. This was pretty much a nothing match. Uh, Bray Wyatt got the win. Sister Abigail to Rhyno. Nothing match. Nothing big happened in the match. Pretty much just, pretty much a nothing match. And after the match, Bray Wyatt gets on the mic. He says for Matt Hardy to show himself. Then we see Matt on the Titantron, telling Bray Wyatt, you're going to be welcomed into the Hardy compound. And it shows like clips of the Hardy compound. You got a gate, and you got Hardy standing behind a mansion, and there was a drone flying in one of the clips. From what I heard, these clips were shown when Matt Hardy was in Impact and Shitty TNA. All those clips came from all those clips that were shown came from Impact, because now Matt Hardy owns the Woken gimmick, and the clips from what they showed when he was in Impact, from what I heard. So, but yeah, so it was all that. The clips were pretty cool. And he says to Bray Wyatt to prepare for the ultimate deletion. And that pretty much ended the segment. But it was a pretty cool segment with Bray and Matt Hardy, showing those clips of the Hardy compound. And then we had the Miz come out for the Mizzies, the 3rd annual Mizzies, which this was really funny, where he introduced 2 categories. One was, I think, for like the best pat on the back, and the Mizzy ended up going to Miz. And then we had another category was worst Raw GM in history. And it showed pretty much, clips of Kurt Angle and like the bad decisions that Miz thinks, Kurt has made. And so Miz ends up saying, Kurt wins that Mizzy. Seth Rollins ends up coming out, interrupting that, and says to Miz that, he is dragging this whole Mizzy's thing. And we have Finn Balor come out. Miz says to both Seth and Finn that both of them deserved that opportunity last week. And Miz says that Finn has absolutely done nothing since relinquishing the Universal title. And pretty much that led to a match. Raw went to commercial. Then when it came back, started the match. It was Seth and Finn versus Miz and Miztourage, Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas. And this match, it was pretty decent. It was back and forth between them. Seth and Finn were pretty decent in the match. There were at some points where Seth didn't like Finn tagging in him. And it was just Seth and Finn just dominating over the Miztourage and also a little bit of the Miz. But Seth Rollins and Finn Balor ended up winning the match. Seth hit the curb stomp on Miz to score the win for him and Balor. Then after the match, Kurt Angle ended up coming out. Kurt says to Miz, he is announcing who Miz's opponent is at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental title. And Kurt says Miz will be competing with both Seth and Finn in a triple threat match for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. So that's gonna be pretty cool. Who knows if Miz is gonna drop the title at Miz is gonna drop the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania, because his baby is gonna be due WrestleMania week. So who knows if he's gonna be dropping the Intercontinental title. For my pick, who to win, it's a tough decision. As much as I want to see Balor win, because Balor deserves to have a title, because he relinquished the Universal title, which he still should get a shot for, because he never dropped it. He only relinquished it because of his shoulder injury. But I have to say, I would like to see Balor win the Intercontinental title. Seth Rollins, as much as he put on that great performance in the Gauntlet match, lasting an hour and 5 minutes, I want to see Balor win it. I mean, I like Seth, but Balor deserves to hold the title because it's been a while, since Balor has held the title. So sorry about that, but like I said, I want Balor to win the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. I think he really deserves it. But all in all, the match was decent. Really liked it. Then we had Paul Heyman end up coming out to deliver a message on behalf of Brock Lesnar. And Lesnar, he says Lesnar gave him permission to hold the Universal title and bring it tonight. And he says if Lesnar, chooses to defend the title, at SummerSlam, if Lesnar wins and retains it at WrestleMania, we might see, Lesnar still have the Universal title and bring it to SummerSlam this year. Sorry about that again, but I was saying, if Lesnar retains the title at WrestleMania, he might bring the Universal title at SummerSlam, and he will, Lesnar. Well, Paul Heyman says, that he will lay the title down again, and he will lay down the UFC title as well, because there's talks that, after WrestleMania, that will be Lesnar's last match, because from what I heard, Lesnar wants to go back to UFC. And Heyman says to Roman, what was the biggest victory of his career? And he says, when, Roman defeated The Undertaker at WrestleMania, which Roman was the second man to beat Taker at WrestleMania. The first being Brock Lesnar when, at WrestleMania 30, where Lesnar ended Taker's undefeated streak. And Heyman says Brock Lesnar is, Brock Lesnar 365 days. And he says Roman will not take away the Universal title from Lesnar. And, Heyman then announces that next week on Raw, which is coming from Detroit, he will bring Lesnar. So Lesnar will appear next week on Raw. And Heyman says that Roman last week called Lesnar a bitch. And what was funny was Heyman says the Universal title is Lesnar's bitch. And Roman can't have it. And he says Roman has to take the title from Lesnar's hands. Heyman says to Roman, it's not how bad you want it's not bad. It's not how bad Roman wants the title. It's how bad the title wants Roman. And Heyman says to Roman that next week, of course, Lesnar will be here, and Roman could say anything to Lesnar's face. And so Roman comes out and says to Heyman, that everything he said was true about Lesnar. And Roman says, Lesnar really is a bitch, and he just wants to show up and be, here. And Roman says to Heyman to tell Lesnar that, if he comes next week, he wants him to come, dressed for a fight. And that pretty much ended the segment. But it was Paul Heyman cut a pretty decent promo in the segment. So now we got to see Lesnar come here next week on Raw, and address Roman Reigns. And you know, it's like WWE is playing with you know our minds and thinking, oh, you know, Roman, no, not Roman, Lesnar is going to be here, and they just want us to like Roman. You know, WWE wants us to just like Roman, and you know, it's not going to happen. It's not going to work. So, but yeah, so like I said, it was a pretty decent promo from Heyman, pretty decent segment. Really liked it. And so, yeah, so next week we're going to see Lesnar here on Raw. So, but yeah, so anyways, that's it for my review of tonight's edition of Monday Night Raw. Thank you all for watching, and be sure to give this video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all here tomorrow night for my SmackDown review, which SmackDown is going to be the go-home show for Fastlane, which is coming up this Sunday. And I'll also review the mixed match challenge match tomorrow. You know, during the SmackDown review, of course, like always. Tomorrow on the mixed match challenge is going to be Strowman and Alexa versus Jimmy Uso and Naomi. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see. So probably we all know Strowman and Alexa might win it. So, but that's probably going to happen. So, so anyways, that's it for this video, and I'll see you all back here tomorrow night for my SmackDown review and the Mixed Match Challenge review. Bye.